as a clinician, I sometimes co-facilitate therapy groups. Many years ago, while in therapy, my partner's husband was killed by a drunk driver. This was very devastating, and yet she was able to overcome this trial and find post-traumatic growth through a spiritual connection. If we're just meeting for the first time, I'm Hugh, founder and author of Trial Tappers. Who are Trial Tappers? People that find hope, resilience, and post-traumatic growth after life's trials and traumas. This story was so amazing, I shared it in my first book, Trial Tappers, and now I want to share it with you in illustrated form.
Many years ago, I worked in the prison facilitating family therapy with my friend and coworker Ruth. We helped families prepare for the return of their addict family members being released from prison. During this time, Ruth's husband Brian was hit by a drunk driver. Both were injured. The other driver had a broken arm. Brian was conscious and told paramedics to take the other injured driver to the hospital first. However, his decision quickly turned fatal for him as he soon died from his injuries. The day eventually came when the drunk driver was sentenced for killing Brian. Ruth had decided to speak at the sentencing as a victim. To the surprise of many in the room, which included many of their 12 children, Ruth asked the judge for some leniency in the length of the sentence. There was never any issue about forgiving the individual. She knew she had to forgive as a way of honoring her husband. Many of her children were not at the point in their personal growth where they could show leniency for the perpetrator and were actually upset with her. Years later, some still are. Some of them were also upset when Ruth testified at the parole hearing for this man 5 years later, requesting that he be granted parole. Again, this was a way of honoring her husband and based on the hard work the perpetrator accomplished while incarcerated. For her, real forgiveness was not accepting the behaviors that led to this incredible loss. It was striving to maintain honor, dignity, and then find peace for herself. Ruth continued to work with addicts in prison and decided to go back to school to receive her PhD. She is a genuine example of someone who is able to turn her tragedy into a strength. During my life, I have studied various religions. I found that many people profess a connection to an unseen power. The internal intensity of that connection and power varies greatly and is distinctive for different people. Many people I've worked with connect to one or more of these unseen powers. Even those who do not profess to believe in an organized religion will often acknowledge some unseen power that keeps the planets and stars in motion in the universe. Their connection to the unseen power increases because of their trial. Trials and traumas can challenge the strength of their belief in an unseen power for many. They lose faith or have a decrease in their previously held support of an unseen power, or feel their unseen power let this trial happen to them despite all the good they had done in life. Sometimes your trauma or trial may be so devastating that helpful others can only do so much to relieve your pain. When this happens, I encourage you to find whatever unseen power you can rely on to bring you peace once again. Often I find clients struggling with the notion of a religious obligation to forgive someone who has caused them harm. Many religions will teach that forgiving someone will bring you peace. But the strength to forgive someone who has harmed you may take years to achieve and may not be accomplished in this lifetime. Skilled spiritual leaders can be very helpful during a difficult trial or trauma. However, I would encourage spiritual guides to tread delicately on the topic of forgiveness. Some people with a religious background might not know how to help you in your trials and might say statements such as, "This was God's will," or "God won't give you more than you can handle," or "Others have it much worse than you." If you happen to hear these types of statements, you might find peace or anger. You may or may not believe in an unseen power that can help you with your trial. This is your choice. The result of general research on helping others recognizes that many people do find their belief in an unseen power is helpful when they are confronted with very challenging trials or trauma.
One of the 5 pillars of post-traumatic growth is finding a higher spiritual or existential connection. Ruth was definitely able to find that. If you found this story important, please share it with someone else. If you want to see another story of somebody else who overcame a trial, please watch this next video.